Today's video is part 2 of my 2-part series where I go over all of my homemade saddle gear. In the first video we went over one sticks and platforms. Today we'll be going over saddles and climbing sticks. Any questions, please feel free to leave in the comments. So this is the first saddle I ever built. Technically the first saddle I ever built. I've built quite a few sit drags up until this point, but they also used a backup rock climbing harness. So this was the first actual saddle that I made. And if you notice the molly looping on the back, it has big molly looping. And I like the big molly looping just because it's easier to clip a carabiner into it. The tighter molly looping is better for bags though. So typically what I like to do is I like to run tighter molly looping up along this front sides on both of these, and then I'll do the bigger molly looping along the back. But moving along, you'll see that the bridge loops are nice and big. They stick out nice and wide. They're easy to clip into. The leg loops themselves are permanently fixed to the saddle. They are climbing rated tubular webbing. They are kind of part of fall arrest. Not really, but they, if in a case of a fall, they will do something. Now, if we flip this over, we'll notice that on the bridge itself, I have a full berry piece of Amsteel with a Amsteel Prusik on the other end. The bridge loops are a little smaller. They're not that big of a bridge loop themselves. They do have the adjustment knobs on the inside, so I can put this in different positions and it'll lock in. I just wanted to cut in for a second and say thank you for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe. On the belt, I have a Cobra buckle. This is a climbing rated. It is rated for, I think, I forget what it's rated for, but this is rated for taking falls. It's not adjustable, so this is one of those belts that you kind of have to adjust before you put it on. Once you have it on, you can't really adjust it. The saddle body is 17 inches from top to bottom, and then it's 30 inches across. So again, this is the first saddle I ever built. Let's go ahead and take a look at the second one that I built. Okay, so moving on to number 2. Number 2 is similar to number 1. There's a few differences between number 1 and number 2. First of all, this hook on the back, which allows me to cinch this up nice and tight as I'm walking in and out, and then when I'm ready to use it, I just kind of pop it and I have all this material. I did try to put a pleat in it. This material just isn't good for pleats, and the pleats typically don't work that great in saddles to begin with. So we have this hook. The molly looping is similar. However, if we come down to the bottoms, you'll notice that we have 2 loops here, and they are to pull the saddle underneath you. You basically stick your thumbs in here and you can pull the saddle underneath you. And so coming over to the front, to start off with, we have another Cobra buckle. This is rated for 10 kilonewtons. However, it's got a stretchy belt and it also has a quick adjust. And so they're really easy to use. I really like these buckles. At the bottom we have our leg loops, and we just have G-hooks on those and they connect right into the side. They are not permanently on. These are removable. So if I wanted to pull these off, I could pull these off. I don't. I like the leg loops. I use them. So I leave them on. The bridge itself also is a section of Amsteel. It's got a Amsteel Prusik knot on it, and it also has the adjustment balls as well. This saddle is a little bit more material than the first one. This saddle is actually 22 inches wide by 40 inches long from bridge loop to bridge loop, and then 30 inches long in the body. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the third one. All right, guys, so we're back with number 3. This is the third saddle that I built. You'll probably notice right off the bat that it's a little different than the other ones. Number 1, the material itself, it's a lot thicker of a material. For example, the other saddles can't do that. Whereas if I put this saddle there side by side, you'll kind of notice that this one just, it kind of balls up, which is good if you're packing this in and you want to put this in a backpack, that's good to have. And so as you can see, the material's a lot stiffer. We have a pleat on the back that can collapse. We have a different scheme of MOLLE. So the MOLLE is a lot tighter. It goes all the way around. I still have those big lineman loops. The MOLLE is also, I'll have a few sections of tight MOLLE right here, a few sections of tight MOLLE right here, and then the rest are big gear loops. On the bottom, you'll notice that I have these hooks, and that's so that you can stick your thumbs in them and pull the saddle underneath of you. The belt is a free belt, so it's not permanently connected to the saddle itself. I'm also using a Cobra buckle with the easy adjust on it, and the whole belt is a stretch belt as well. I gotta tell you, I really like these belts, and the reason why is because when I'm walking in, I can very easily cinch this thing down one-handed, and then once I get up into the saddle, I can just pop this and it'll just basically give it a little bit of a slack, and then I just clip it back in. And that I can adjust this while I'm wearing it up in the saddle, and that's a very nice feature to have. Down at the bottom, the leg loops aren't really part of fall arrest. They're basically just to kind of keep the saddle in position while I'm wearing it. So on the bridge itself, I'm running a full buried piece of AmSteel. It's girth hitched on the side. I got away from the beads. On the other side, I have a Prusik tender. So now I can do this one-handed. And that's just a piece of AmSteel that I kind of girth hitched on. So that sits right there like that. The other thing too is that these loops are a lot bigger of a loop. So instead of being able to just adjust from here to here, I can adjust the whole length of it. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the sticks. So we're here looking at the first set of sticks. This is actually the second set of sticks that I built. And these are constructed out of a 1-inch square tube aluminum, and then they have steel steps on them. I used these for about a year, and they're not the lightest. They are about 5 pounds each. The other issue with this is after about a season or so of using them, they bend. And if you look closely at this, you'll be able to tell that it bends in. So the 1-inch square tube aluminum didn't hold. It didn't hold up. And so basically I ended up retiring these. They did work well for the first season or so that I used them, and they didn't bend immediately. It kind of happened over the season. But if you're seeing your tubes bending like that, that's not a good sign. And that means that the tube itself isn't strong enough really to take your weight. All right, so as you can see, I have a button on the front of it, and then I just have a piece of AmSteel connected onto it. The standoffs themselves are steel as well. And so now let's go ahead and take a look at the other sticks. Okay, so we're here with stick number 2. And starting from the bottom, I have a somewhat retractable aider on it. I still went with the 1-inch square tube aluminum, however, it's a lot shorter of a piece. I believe that the reason the first one's bent was because of how long of a stick that I made. So I shortened the stick up, and as of so far, they haven't bent. Moving on, this is where I started doing the 3D printed steps. This is the very first set of sticks that I started doing the 3D printed steps on. I also changed out the button for a cam cleat, and the back standoffs have a lot more distance from the back of the tree. And so I used these for a little while, but then I ended up switching to the third ones that I'm about to show you now. Okay, so we're here with the last set of sticks that I built. I built these about 2 years ago, and this has quite a few differences than the other two. Starting off, I ditched a 1-inch square tube aluminum for 3/4 inch steel tubing. The other thing that I did is I went back to the button as opposed to the cam. I am still using the 3D printed steps. I put a hanger on this as well, and the standoffs are a lot lighter, and they're also a lot longer. This whole stick itself is a lot lighter. Stick number 1 is about 5 pounds. Stick number 2 is about 4 pounds, and these are about 2 pounds. And so that's going to do it for all my homemade saddle hunting gear, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm actually going to be taking a break from the saddle hunting stuff for a little bit. I have a couple other projects that I want to get to, so I'll see you guys on those projects.